G'day viewers, end of another week.
It is. Hello, hello. I'm here too. It's, you know, the thing.
Yeah.
It's good.
You know, he might be on medication that makes him hallucinate and fall over.
True story.
But I'm not letting him stay out of the videos.
No, because you got it, because otherwise you get the smack with a stick.
Yeah.
And it's a special stick. And I'll show it. I'm not allowed to show him, am I?
No.
It's part of the agreement.
Plausible deniability is what we're talking about here.
It's got a silver handle.
It's very stylish is what we're saying.
Mr. Grey would dig it, except fuck him.
No, that's a story for another day. Today is pretty much an all Queensland episode.
Yay, go Queensland.
For instance, if you're in America, this would be an all Florida episode. Because there's a state election happening in Queensland. It's the centre of action right now.
Well, just to give you a quick bank rounder, the Premier, like the boss of Queensland, was driving it into the ground and said, I'm driving into the ground and it's fucked. I know, snap election.
Yeah, he called the election in the middle of the school holidays.
Right.
So it's like a lot of people would be away, and particularly younger people
couldn't register.
Tend to vote against him. If they're away, they might not register in time for the election. That was the sort of the start. But in fact, the election is the least colourful thing that's happened this week.
Absolutely.
It started. There's a shock jock, conservative radio shock jock called Alan Jones, who I've spoken about heaps in videos. Okay, again. For American friends, Rush Limbaugh type thing, okay?
Yeah.
And I keep thinking I should say something for Americans, for the English or Europeans, and I just don't know a parallel. Sorry. I don't even know if you have this sort of thing. So he's that type of person, right? Shamelessly right-wing, bigot, opinionated, whatnot. But the Murdoch-owned tabloid up there, the Courier Mail, has gone him this week.
Yeah.
And called him a dirty, trendy, inner-city, elitist, environmentalist.
Right.
Which is weird as fuck.
It's just like, okay.
Like I said, Murdoch, this is Fox News calling Rush Limbaugh a dirty environmentalist.
Yeah.
A filthy greenie.
Yeah.
They let in with, Queenslanders don't have any time for Jones and his trendy inner-city alternative lifestyle goings-ons.
No, they don't have any time for Jones, except they syndicate his fucking radio show every day.
And we assume the alternative lifestyle inner-city stuff is a reference to Jones really likes the dick.
Yes.
One of our lights just fall over.
Yes,
that's
me,
okay.
But, you know, it's all right.
Yeah, we're fine.
If I start to smoke at some stage, anyway, let it go.
Yeah, that's a secondary thing. Now, okay, I don't know that Jones has ever formally come out.
No, I don't think he has formally come out.
But it's not like it's a secret.
It's not, no.
And a lot of people have rightly pointed out, okay, that's not on. If you're going to
go someone, go their thing. Don't go their thing.
Yeah. Nicely put,
Thanks,
I must say.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. But that's not even their big insult. There was the veiled gay innuendo. But the big insult, 3 times in the article, they said, like, he's closely intimate with the Greens. And I think in Queensland terms, that's like the worst insult you can do.
Yeah, it's like saying, you know, a Nazi, but bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, they might do an insinuation, Jones might go for a fucking bucket full of trucker cock, but he's a greenie! It's like, you know, they could actually let the proclivities slide completely if it wasn't for the greenie.
Every now and again, a man needs cock. And, you know, that's cool. A man needs cock once in a while. It's understood. It's fine. But a man does not need to have a bloody park.
And the weirdest thing is, Jones is not a greenie by any stretch of the imagination.
Really not.
But he has joined a lobby for some farmers in Queensland who are opposed to fracking in particular and some expansion of coal mining in general. And because he's joined that lobby, they've decided he's a greenie. You had an opinion about Jones and his stand on fracking, didn't you?
I did have an opinion on Jones and his stand on fracking. I have an opinion on Jones generally. Jones generally is a guy that will get money for comment and not tell you about that. And also he passes himself up as a journalist, and also he will hide behind the innuendo or the nearly there. Someone will ring up and say, I think bloody Joe Bloggs is a dirty pedophile. Well, you might say that, says Alan Jones. Because he could never say that because he's on the friggin' radio and he might get bloody sued or jailed. He's a weak, cowardly bastard and I hate the shit out of him. He gets paid shitloads of money to say stuff, and he basically gives it a lot of, oh yeah, this is the microwave oven of goodness. When you don't know, he's just bullshitting. He's just paid $2 million for it. I should be paid $2 million for bloody commenting because I'm good at commenting on stuff. Microwave ovens, they're white sometimes. And then bloody, the other thing about bloody Jones is that not only the innuendo and the sideways flipping, it bloody gives it a bit of, I'm not lying or telling stuff for cash when it friggin' is.
This is an actual established fact. What's known as the cash for comment scandal. Years ago, Jones and the other big shock jock of the day, John Laws, were found to have taken enormous payments to say things, presenting it as their own point of view, but they were actually paid to say it. Jones, notably with the banks, he'd spent ages saying banks are bad, banging down on the ordinary working bloke, and then he was paid, and then he started saying good things about the
banks. Are good. Banks
and
are
these
fine.
are payments that went into the millions of dollars.
There was a riot, right? A racist friggin' riot.
The famous Cronulla riot.
Famous Cronulla riots in Sydney and Cronulla, right? And these bastards got on the radio and basically were telling people who was coming and what was happening and where was it. And they were geeing these pricks up for the entire afternoon. And then as soon as the bloody shit went down and the riot went on, they ran away. They literally ran away.
Literally, Jones went on leave when the thing blew up in his face. What? This is all us saying. Jones is not progressive. Jones is not an environmentalist.
No.
Jones has generally said what he's paid to say. And while it's interesting that the Courier Mail didn't go that as a line of attack, because I think they probably didn't want to attack the farm lobby. So apparently the one thing you can't do in Queensland is criticise mining interests.
No.
Because that makes you bad.
It makes you bad. It makes you a bad person. It makes you bad with you've got bad genitals on.
Yeah. And the weirdest thing about this article is, like, it was surreal in and of itself, but it wasn't even written by a journo from the paper. It was written by someone who's like the president of the Eastern Australian Energy Exploration It was like the pamphlet, the sales pamphlet for a fucking mining company printed in a Murdoch rag as if it was news. That was the weird... And then stuff got weirder. A day later, today essentially, the Premier and some members of his party are now suing Jones for going them. And they're saying because he called them liars. He said they took a bribe. Because what happened prior to them getting elected, they said they wouldn't okay the expansion of a particular coal mine. And after the election, they did allow the expansion. And Jones is saying... your party took a $700,000 donation from this mining company, and then you gave them the thing you said you wouldn't. So apparently he's called the money a bribe, and he's called the Premier Newman and a few other people liars, and they've taken that as grounds for suing him. You know, the party of free speech. It's all free until you actually have a go at them.
For all free speech until you kick out privilege and then, no, bugger you, bloody oik. Back down in your hole.
And that's happened at the federal level as well. Our federal treasurer, Conservative Joe Hockey, is suing the Fairfax Press for running a story under the headline Treasurer for Sale, because they found out a fundraising body that he was involved with was straight up saying, if you donate this much, you get a private meeting with the treasurer. And then, shock horror, it turns out the people who were paying this money after Hockey's party got elected got a bunch of policy that directly benefited them.
The fuck? I mean, everyone does that, surely. When I go up to an ice cream truck and I say, here, have $700,000, he says, pistachio, sir? You may have pistachio. I might have to walk to fucking South America to get it, but surely you can have pistachio. Not a problem. But it's not a bribe. No.
So, yeah, party of free speech right up until you say something they don't like. So that's what... But this is still not the weirdest thing to happen in Queensland politics this week.
No shit.
One of the guys standing for re-election, his name's Stevens. And it turns out that he's been involved with a tourist development. It's like some cable car thingy that's going through a national park. And prior to this mob getting power, you weren't allowed to do this sort of development in a national park.
It's a crazy thing. They reckon national parks are for fucking wilderness and shit like that.
So, surprise, surprise, after they get elected, it's all go with the development, a tourist development through a national park. But this guy, it turns out, he's both an investor in this plan and an advisor to the government on whether or not the plan should go ahead. Now, some people, crazily,
fucking weirdos,
have suggested...
long hairs. How long's your hair?
No, not that long. It probably needs a cut.
How long's my hair?
We might neaten him up at some point. I mean, the whole homeless vagrant look is, you know, it's your vibe and stuff.
You know, it's cool and whatevs.
But we might tidy you up at some point.
That could be kind of okay.
Yeah. We might make a makeover video for AIDSy sometime soon. Watch out for that. But yeah, so this dude who was both an investor in the plan and an advisor to government, people have said, oh, that might be a conflict of interest. And he's gone, oh, well, the investigative board have said unclear. And some people said, well, why don't you publish a public report that says that? Because you're just saying that, but we haven't actually seen that you've been properly investigated. And anyway, someone tried to interview him when he's standing outside his office saying, yeah, we've had problems getting through to you. Can you just answer the question? Like, what's it all about? How much money would you make? The guy's saying, I'm not going to talk to you. And then it gets weird. Instead of talking, oh, and we'll give you a link so you can watch this.
You need to see this.
It's really fucking strange. He does a dance. He does a dance.
No shit. He does a dance.
Instead of answering a fairly pertinent question. And we have decided...
yes.
He's our guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're down with this.
Absolutely. Stevens, we're going to do the Stevens every time we get in shit.
Whenever someone asks you a difficult question...
do the Stevens.
Do the Stevens. AIDSy?
Okay, I'll begin. And that's it.
That's it. No matter what they ask you.
No matter what it is.
Like, if your wife says to you, what about those Facebook pictures of you that night out, where quiet night with the boys, and you're motorboating 3 different strippers? What was that about?
I'm doing the Stevens. It's all good. It's all good.
That clears you. You know,
the police come up and say, what are you doing smoking on the platform? What are you doing smoking weed on the platform? What are you doing smoking crack on the platform? Please stop pulling out large amounts of powder drugs. It's brilliant.
It's all good. You know, if you're walking down the street with a severed head in one hand and a bloodied axe in the other hand, and the cops say, what's all this about? Do the Stevens.
Do the Stevens.
And you're scot-free. That answers everything.